Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Elizabeth, and you're watching Interior Wellness. I am absolutely thrilled and honored to be joined today by Nadiya Shah. She is one of the world's top astrologers, and she is a Canadian, so we love her even more. And I'm so happy to have you here, Nadiya. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you for seeing me as part of your creative vision, for sharing me with your audience, and just to have this moment. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I've been checking out your website and learning a little bit more about you, and you have an extensive knowledge and you offer so much to people. That's something that really touched me, is that you are connecting so much with people through YouTube and through videos and through the internet and offering them your astrology services and readings. It's really quite remarkable.
Thank you. It's what I have to give. So that's it's a vehicle, as I like to say, it's a vehicle for affirming the good in the world, for affirming positive energy, what I like to call love and wisdom. So that I look at astrology as a practice, and it has been a practice that's blessed my life, but ultimately it is about affirming what I would love to see more of in the world.
How did you start your journey with astrology? So you have this belief and love for it now. And I'd love to know a little bit about your background. And you were naturally intuitive for a long time. Tell us more about you.
Well, I am very much of the belief it's really important for me to assert and to affirm that this is a skill and it can be learned by anybody. And I am very much of the belief, I'm very passionate about people developing their own connection to whatever they consider their higher self or the divine, whatever they want to call it, but whatever it is that makes them more loving in the world, whatever makes them able to see themselves and others more. I am always encouraging people to connect with that. Having said that, yes, I was very intuitive when I was young. My family background, there were lots of people who practiced what I call different esoteric arts. So there's a strong ancestry there going way back. But my family in particular, on my mom's side in particular, very much fans of astrologers and psychics and things like that. I was 14 years old, and in Toronto, we have this event called the CNE, right? Which is like the PNE out in BC. And I remember I was 14 years old, and at that time, before the internet, you sort of had this day where you went and you lined up and you interviewed with a bunch of people, and you sort of ended up with whatever job you were going to get for those 3 weeks. And my job that particular end of summer was as a palm reader. And literally they took one look at me, they gave me a sheet of paper with a hand, and they said, learn this and come back tomorrow. And the next day I was doing readings. And over the span of that 3 weeks, I got a lot of like daily affirmation that this was something I was good at. I just felt like I had a knack for it. And I felt like I was able to reach people very deeply in their hearts. And that was really meaningful to me. And immediately after that, for the following few years, my family members just kept giving me astrology books. They were like, you're going to be good at this. I think you should look at this and learn this. And hey, can you learn this and tell me about myself? Like that kind of thing. And it was just something that was there for a really long time. And it wasn't until many years later that I actually became a professional calling.
So from a young girl at the CNE who didn't have a background in what she was doing there to where you are now is an amazing journey. Life just leads us on the way, and we can just sit back and watch things happen. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, I think there's some higher wisdom at play, because I had a very different idea of what I was supposed to be. As I like to say, I thought I was supposed to be Madonna, and I was pursuing that I can't say wholeheartedly, because something never really felt right with that path. But I remember the moment that I realized that that the universe has a Madonna, doesn't need another Madonna, but maybe it could use a Nadiya Shah. And I didn't know who that was. And it really was astrology that carried me through that year and a half. That showed me something about some higher pattern, some higher wisdom that's always playing out. And I think those experiences, knowing what it's like to, be very sort of headstrong in one way, even when it's not feeling right, even when it's not working, it allows me to have this like sort of depth of understanding when I meet people of a variety of different backgrounds or ages or life experiences. So I do think of it as, of course, just part of the path.
Thank you. I'm sitting here thinking that there might be some people watching who don't yet know about astrology. And you talked about how it came into your life, and all of us have pretty much grown up on it. If you've read a news or radio, there are astrology readings. But for people who don't really know what it is, can you tell us what is astrology, what it is, the definition, and then also what it is to you?
Well, the definition of astrology is to look at celestial phenomenon with a poetic lens, to look at it and sit with it and explore it in a symbolic way. That's really it. It's about to look at it, to gaze upon it and see if there's any correlation, any relevance, any meaning for it, for you in your life right now. But it's more than that. Like if I think about just culturally on a more expansive level, astrology is really the only sort of very widespread act of divination that is a part of mass culture to this day. Of course, you can find lots of resources, you can learn lots of different tarot, numerology, you know, whatever, but it really is astrology that remains pervasive, that remains a part of our culture and part of our everyday lives, really. And for me, it is not so much about what astrologers do, like what the practice is. To me, what's really important is what astrologers represent. And what we represent is a life and a world that maybe is not completely random, maybe not is completely cruel, is actually a world that has some pattern and cycles, that has something larger playing out, that actually with a little bit of contemplation can make a little bit of sense. So to me, it's more about, and the reason that I think astrology remains such a force in modern culture everywhere in the world is because we have that desire to feel connected to each other, but also to everything. We have a desire for a world that is alive with meaning and purpose. And so for me, what I think astrology does and what it represents and what I feel I'm really doing is affirming that truth in the world, is a part of like healing that sort of modern alienation that a lot of people feel by reminding them that there's actually something beautiful that they are a part of.
Oh, I love that you say modern alienation, because it's true. We live in cities, many of us, and we don't see the stars. And as you were speaking, it came to me that since the beginning of humanity, we've looked to the stars and the planets as magical beings because we didn't know about them and somehow knew that they have some influence on us. And even the planetary bodies like the moon influences our planet, influences the tide and influences women's cycles. So that's not something that we can say doesn't exist. So it's very connected from a very long time. So I love hearing that.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that if we look at the Western world and how astrology was able to survive, there's actually an important historical development that took place, which was that early Christian philosophers, they talked about how astrology was bad. And this is, you know, because in the religions where we look at one God, right? When we look at Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, this idea of free will is a huge part of our modern understanding. And even in the earliest sort of impulses of these particular faiths. So this idea of free will, right? Trust God and do your best and everything will work out based on your accountability was a really big principle, was really important to empower people and part of the attraction of these particular ways of looking at the world, these particular faiths. And so early Christian philosophers, you see them saying that, okay, astrology is bad, we're not doing that anymore, but the moon, that's okay because it helps farmers. There's actually something good happening there. We can kind of tell when people are going to be a little more emotional. We can tell when it's better to seed and plant. And so what that did was it created a little crack in the door that allowed astrology to survive into this day.
Well, I'm glad it did. I'm glad that it's so prevalent.
Oh, me too.
So you're going to be speaking and leading a workshop and a keynote address at an upcoming event. And then that event is the Illuminate Psychic Fair, and there's so much more going on. And you're going to be speaking there. So let's hear about what your topic is. You've got 2 workshops happening.
Yeah, so I have the keynote happening. I'm really excited about this. I've actually never been to BC. I've never been to the West Coast of my country, so I'm super excited about that. I've heard great things. I know a lot of astrologers come out of there. And so I'm doing this, this beautiful event, this conference, and on January 20th, which is a Friday night, I'm doing the keynote. And the keynote is called 2017, the Year of the Future. And so I'll be speaking for about an hour and talking about my impressions, my ideas about what it is that is coming up for us in this year, really, that we are at the very beginning of. And the following day, the 21st in the afternoon, there is a workshop, which is going to be sort of an overview of my book, Astrology Realized. And so we're going to be going over some basic concepts and hopefully help people to start looking at their charts and understanding what's going on there. Some, basic astrology 101 for people who want to explore the symbol a little bit more deeply. And immediately after that, I have a book signing. So I will be signing, I'll have a few copies of my books on hand, and I will be signing books. And the event, at least the workshop, has already sold out. I was really surprised to hear that. Just earlier today, I found out that it has been entirely sold out. People are coming from all around. I know that there are people coming in from Washington State to actually attend the workshop. And so I'm just really moved by that, by the commitment and the passion. But also, I think it's very symbolic of this particular openness and this particular freedom of spirit that you see a lot more on the West Coast. That, is one characteristic of the West Coast that I think is really special and worthy of celebrating. That acceptance of being okay with, exploring different parts of yourself and exploring, a connection with others, with the world and the universe as well.
There's definitely an exploration happening and people gathering together in groups to explore. So the timing of this event is beautiful, just in the very beginning of 2017. And it's incredible to hear that the workshop is sold out. There's still room in the keynote, so everybody can check out the website for that. And to come together for this kind of thing, it's absolutely transformational. What do you think about the power of events like this? When somebody comes to a workshop, what can they expect to gain for their life?
Well, I think the great thing about events, I know for me personally, I try to go to a lot of astrology conferences, and I speak at astrology conferences really around the world. And part of the reason is, of course, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak, to be asked, but also because it's really nice to connect with other people who understand something about the path that you are on. We kind of speak the same language, right? The language being astrology. And you don't feel so much like an alien. You don't feel so much like you're out there when you are among your own people. And I think this idea of community, this idea of connection based on your interests, based on what you desire to learn, it can be very powerful and it can be very beautiful. But more than that, it's very validating. And it allows that certain level of peace. And especially when you're doing something that is about putting something good into the world. It's about affirming the love and the wisdom in the world and in yourself. It's about affirming positive energy and our inherent unity to each other, as I like to say, to everyone and everything. I think to have support for that very part of you that can be misunderstood by different demographics, to have support for that is invaluable. It is priceless. And so to be any part of that, for someone else experiencing that, myself experiencing that, I think is absolutely worth it.
Absolutely. So there's workshops that everyone can take in. There's the keynote with you. And then there's also the exhibitor space where people can come and connect with you and get your book. And do they get readings with you at the event as well? Are you doing one-on-ones?
Well, I had just a couple of spots. They filled up almost immediately. So I'm not really going to be in the exhibitor space. I'm excited about walking through the exhibitor space. So if you happen to be there, You'll see me there connecting with other people and, you know, of course, picking up my stones and things like that, looking at what the people in BC like to do. So lots of informal connections that tend to end up being very powerful happen in those spaces. I will be doing a book signing though, immediately following the workshop. I believe it's around 5:30, but please have a look at their official webpage, purepowerevents.com. Have a look at that, or come on to my my Facebook page, nadiyashahdotcom, because there I've also posted the information. So I'll be doing a book signing open to the public. Everyone is welcome. And, you know, if you just want to come and you want to talk and you want to get a hug, it's all good. It's all good.
It sounds perfect. It's a nice way to take in an event as well. It's just to be present, not in a workshop at the moment, but to see who you're connecting with and check out your book and things like that. So we're very excited for it. And it's in a beautiful location in Kelowna. So good news. It looks like there is space left in both Nadiya's keynote spot and as well as Nadiya's workshop space on the Saturday. I expect that they will sell out, and I think that you do too, Nadiya. So I think if people want to get into that, it's a great idea to get their tickets online in advance.
Yes, at purepowerevents.com. I know that it's almost sold out at this point, and only 30 seats. So it's going to be a small group. It'll be exciting. It'll be fun. Lots of learning, lots of connecting. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, and that's a really special opportunity for people to come and have that it's small and intimate of a gathering with you is something that has never happened before in British Columbia, and maybe a while till it happens again. So it's a good thing to just jump on and say, let's go and let's get into this wonderful new 2017 with a wonderful event.
Well, I am looking forward to falling in love with British Columbia, I must say. I've heard amazing things about it. And actually, it's so interesting to me that this Kelowna connection came up, because my aunt actually lived in Kelowna for years. And she always said that I should come down. And she was huge, Shireen. She was hugely a part of my coming into this particular career path, very much a spiritual mentor to me. And my mom as well, she went, right? She never really flies. She went to Kelowna. She loved it. And so it's amazing how things kind of work out to bring me there. So yes, I have a feeling I'm going to love it. And I'm looking forward to, as I say, meeting friends and fans, but also just meeting people, right? Meeting my fellow Canadians, and also a lot of Americans have already signed up. Looking forward to meeting everybody.
It's going to be a wonderful gathering. And I'm thinking about the year 2017 and wondering, can you give us a little taste of what people might experience at your keynote or in your workshop right now? And maybe something our listeners might need to hear, something that will help us to come into 2017.
Well, I look at 2017 as a year that is showing us something about what change we wish to be, what change we wish to embody. And it's showing us something about a more inspiring vision of what could be. Now, sometimes that happens through contrast, right? We see what it is that we really don't want to be moving towards, and we sort of commit more deeply to being something more, to being something higher, representing something more. But also sometimes it really is that inspiring events take place that show us something about our potential. And I think that this is going to be a year, you know, interestingly, as much as there's been, you know, this energy that other countries are experiencing, you know, thankfully Canada, because of our history and our values, it's been different. But there's been this sort of nationalism energy that's been there over the course of the last couple of years. This really is only going to be with us as we get until the end of the year, and then the energy changes. But not only that, more importantly, I actually think that this is going to represent a year and a time when we are going to see a lot of borders open. We are going to see immigration processes get a lot easier all around. We are going to see more people feeling a part of a world community. And I think we're also going to see some really inspiring humanitarian and human rights developments as well. And of course, Canada, we have a history of being on the forefront of these things. I'm really excited about this as well. One question a lot of Canadians asked was, how is this election going to speak to us as Canadians? And, you know, actually, we are going to be better than fine. I think it's going to be just fine as far as our relationships, as far as our trade, and especially as far as our economy. In fact, I think our economy is going to get that much stronger. And a huge part of the reason is going to be because we are going to be one of those countries very much on the forefront of breakthroughs and of connections, not only in terms of more passports granting more access to more parts of the world, but also in technology as well. In fact, I do think, and I'm going to go on record and say this, I think we're going to have some amazing technological breakthroughs coming out of British Columbia this coming year.
Well, this is exciting news for us to hear. I'm wondering also, I don't know if it's possible or how astrology works that well, but is there anything that you can tell me in particular in this tiny space that we have?
What's your sign? Right,
Virgo.
This is a skill. It can be learned by anybody. There's one thing to be said for intuition. Psychic is, another thing, and that's cool too, right? If that's what you're into. Okay, so just a general forecast, I will say this: every sign out there is going to experience great blessings and breakthroughs in at least one area of life. You can go onto my YouTube channel. I talk a lot about this in the different videos there. But let's just go through the signs quickly. And I will say for Aries, it has to do with partnerships of all kinds. Very blessed, very lucky. For the Taurians out there, it has to do with work and your workplace connections, and also with your health. For the Geminis out there, it has to do with romance and flirtation, new love, but also fertility and children. Lots of fertility energy out there for those Geminis who are desiring to have children. Lots of cosmic support to make that dream a reality. For the Cancers out there, it's going to be home. So this is going to be very much them coming home to themselves and also creating more beautiful homes for themselves. For the Leos out there, I think it's going to be your siblings, cousins, neighbors. These are going to be the key people who facilitate great blessings for you this year. For the Virgos out there, it's financial. Yes, that's always nice to hear, but it's your earned income that is going to be seeing a peak, going to see an uprise. I wouldn't say peak. I would say you go from one income bracket to another income bracket in a way that makes you feel very good, and in a way that brings positive energy into your life and allows you to express more positive energy as well. We also have the Libras. Now, the Libras themselves are very lucky this year. This is the year to trust what is leaving. If something's leaving, let it go. Don't worry about it. No problem. Because almost immediately you'll see something new and much, much better fill that space. And really, they've got the Midas touch, if you will, this year. The Scorpios, really, it's a year of preparation. It's a year of forgiveness. It's a year of understanding what has served its purpose, because it is going to be, as we get to the last quarter of the year and throughout 2018, that big luck, big breakthroughs, all kinds of wonderful developments find the Scorpios. For the Sagittarians out there, friendships, alliances that have to do with memberships you belong to, support groups, unions, you name it. These are the groups that you want to join. They are going to facilitate some of the greater blessings for you this year. For the Capricorns out there, it's about career, achievement, interviews, bosses, auditions, wherever it is that you've got to put yourself out there and say, I'm the best for this job, you will do that much better. So great time to see promotions and raises and to do really well with advancing whatever your career aims may be. For the Aquarians out there, this is going to be a year of travel. If you've got any citizenship, immigration issues, they should go extremely well. This is a great time also for higher education, for looking at reintroducing higher education. Legal matters should go really well also, and pretty philosophical, some philosophical energy should find the Aquarians this year. And for the Pisceans, also, it's a money year, but this has to do with grants, loans, bursaries, insurance payments, tax returns, that kind of thing. They'll have luck attracting large sums of money. So do make sure you catch up, fill up on all your tax returns. Make sure you get that done. But also just do keep in mind, yes, it'll be a lot easier for you to get loans and things like that. You will have to pay them back, right? Some things are grants. Apply for the grants as well. And, thankfully, again, in Canada, we have these amazing social structures in place. If you know that you're ready to make a change, and you know that as part of that transition, you may need a little bit of guidance on that, and you may need to be part of a program that's going to help you with that, this is absolutely the year to make that change, and go for it and find all kinds of resources and all kinds of helpful people available to you.
Nadiya, that is incredible. So there you heard it, everyone. There is your very quick forecast for 2017. And even just those 2 sentences that you said that were applicable to me made my heart feel like excitement and joy. So this is really good information. And if people want to work with you or see you or find out more about you, where do they go and how can they connect with you?
You can connect with me on my website, nadiyashahdotcom. There's also theuniverseiswiseandloving.com, astrofabulous.com, synchronicityuniversity.com. So these are all different things that I like to do. I like to teach classes online, and of course my YouTube channel as well. If you put in Nadiya Shah Astrology, doesn't matter how you spell it, it is going to show up there front and foremost. And I'd love to have you as a subscriber, as a connection, and I'd love to meet you out there on the internet world.
Wonderful. I'm going to put all the links below and everyone can check those out. And I've seen some of your weekly astrology readings that you're posting and the monthly. And everybody can check out what's pertinent to them depending on what their sign is. So there's so much information up on your website. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really big on web TV. I love web TV. So I have a couple of different programs, and you can, again, they're all available online. One of my programs is the weekly show that I do that's up every single weekend. I do special monthlies and, depending on special celestial phenomenon. I also have a show, Synchronicity Web TV, where I interview other astrologers. There's like over 200 astrologers I've interviewed there, and all kinds of astrology classes, whatever you're into, however much you want to get into astrology, however much you want to get into contemplating a wise and loving universe, it'll be there for you.
That sounds wonderful. I'm excited to dig into that more and learn more from you as well. And for those of you who can't make it to the Pure Power event, you can connect with Nadiya online. And if you can make it, January 20 to 22nd, in Kelowna, it's going to be amazing and a really special experience to meet you, Nadiya, in person. So I'm very excited about that. Is there anything that you'd like to leave our audience with as a sign off?
Sign off, well, purepowerevents.com. Really grateful to the organizers for bringing me out there, for seeing me as part of their creative vision. Thank you so much to them. And thank you so much to you for seeing me as part of your creative vision as well, to have this moment with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Nadiya. I've really appreciated this, and I feel like we could talk for many more hours and draw out some wonderful information for our listeners. So they'll have to just find you online and check that out. Check out all the links below, and thank you everyone so much for watching. This has been a wonderful exploration. Look forward to seeing you next time, and thank you again, Nadiya.